The first sign of trouble appeared long before anyone mentioned a road. For nearly a century, Blackstone Farm had stood proudly on the eastern edge of Raven Creek County. Rolling green fields stretched beyond the horizon, bordered by ancient oak trees and winding streams that had nourished generations of farmers. The land belonged to the Carter family, and for 78 years it had been passed from one generation to the next. Now it belonged to Nathan Carter, a hardworking rancher in his late 30s. Nathan wasn't wealthy. He wasn't politically connected. He wasn't interested in power. But he loved his land. Every fence post carried a memory. Every acre represented sacrifice. His grandfather had survived droughts, economic crashes, and devastating storms to protect Blackstone Farm. His father had expanded the property through decades of relentless labor. When both men passed away, Nathan made a promise at their graves. No matter what happens, I'll protect this land. For years, he kept that promise. Life at Blackstone Farm was peaceful. Nathan lived with his wife, Emily Carter, and their young son, Liam. Most mornings began before sunrise. Nathan would ride across the property checking fences while the golden light of dawn spread across the valley. The farm wasn't just land. It was home. Unfortunately, peace rarely lasts forever. One October morning, Nathan noticed something unusual. A white SUV sat parked on a dirt road overlooking his property. The vehicle remained there for nearly 3 hours. Its occupants never exited. They simply watched. Nathan found it strange, but ignored it. A few days later, another vehicle appeared. Then another. Soon, unfamiliar people carrying cameras and tablets began appearing near the property lines. They measured distances. They took photographs. They marked locations on maps. Nobody asked permission. Nobody introduced themselves. Something wasn't right. Nathan's instincts told him trouble was coming. One evening, he discussed it with Emily during dinner. "I've seen at least 6 different survey teams this month," Nathan said. Emily looked concerned. "Maybe the county is planning something." "On my land," she shrugged. "Have you asked them?" Nathan shook his head. "They leave before I can get answers." The uncertainty bothered him. But what he didn't know was that a much larger plan was already unfolding behind closed doors. 20 miles away stood the luxurious headquarters of the Raven Creek Homeowners Association. Unlike most HOAs, Raven Creek controlled several wealthy residential communities and possessed enormous political influence throughout the county. At the center of that power sat one woman, Vanessa Whitmore, elegant, calculating, ambitious, and completely ruthless. Vanessa had spent years building her influence. County officials respected her. Developers admired her. Business leaders feared her. She always got what she wanted. And what she wanted now was Nathan Carter's land. Inside a private conference room, Vanessa stood before a massive development map. A thick red line crossed directly through Blackstone Farm. "This roadway changes everything," she told the board members. Several executives nodded. The new road would connect expensive housing developments to major highways. Property values would skyrocket. Investors would make millions. Developers would become rich. Only one obstacle remained. Nathan Carter, a board member, looked nervous. What if he refuses to sell? Vanessa smiled. He won't have a choice. The room fell silent. That smile worried everyone. Because whenever Vanessa smiled like that, someone usually suffered. The following week, Nathan's fears became reality. At exactly 9:15 a.m., a convoy of black SUVs arrived at Blackstone Farm. Dust rose behind the vehicles as they rolled toward the front gate. Nathan stepped outside immediately. Emily joined him on the porch. Neither liked what they saw. The first SUV stopped, then the second, then the third. Doors opened simultaneously. Several large men emerged wearing black security uniforms. Private guards. Their expressions were cold and intimidating. Moments later, Vanessa Whitmore stepped out. She wore an expensive navy blue suit and designer sunglasses. Everything about her projected authority. She walked toward Nathan with complete confidence. The guards followed closely behind. Nathan folded his arms. "What can I do for you?" Vanessa smiled politely. "Mr. Carter, thank you for meeting with us. I wasn't given a choice." The smile remained. "My name is Vanessa Whitmore, president of the Raven Creek Homeowners Association." Nathan had heard the name before. Most county residents had. She extended her hand. Nathan didn't shake it. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Vanessa slowly lowered her hand. I'll get straight to the point. Please do. She opened a folder. The county has approved a major infrastructure project. Nathan said nothing. A new roadway. Still nothing. The proposed route passes through a portion of her property. Nathan's jaw tightened. No. Vanessa blinked. No. No road. The guards exchanged glances. Vanessa remained calm. You haven't even seen the offer. I don't care. This project benefits thousands of residents. This farm benefits my family. Vanessa's smile slowly disappeared. You're being unreasonable. Nathan laughed. You're standing on my property, telling me you want to build a road through it. The tension intensified. One guard stepped forward slightly. Nathan noticed. So did Emily. Vanessa continued. We're prepared to offer generous compensation. Not interested. Think carefully. I already have. Vanessa closed her folder. Her voice became colder. This project is moving forward. Nathan stared directly into her eyes. Not through my land. For several seconds, neither moved. It felt like two armies preparing for battle. Finally, Vanessa turned away. We'll be speaking again very soon. The convoy departed. But before leaving, one of the surveyors quietly planted a bright orange marker deep inside Nathan's property. Nathan immediately removed it. Then he noticed something disturbing. Several more markers already existed. Someone had entered his land without permission. That night, Nathan barely slept. The next morning, he visited the county records office. What he discovered shocked him. According to official documents, portions of Blackstone Farm had already been designated for future transportation development. Even worse, the paperwork included a signature. His signature, or at least a copy of it. Nathan stared at the page. His stomach twisted. Someone had forged his name. This isn't mine, he told the clerk. The woman looked confused. It's attached to the approval request. I never signed anything. The clerk examined the document. Then you need a lawyer. Nathan left the building furious. Someone wasn't just threatening his land. Someone was committing fraud. That evening he met with his lifelong friend and attorney, Daniel Brooks. After reviewing the documents, Daniel's expression darkened. This is serious. How serious? Daniel pointed toward the forged signature. Criminal level serious. Nathan leaned forward. What do? We fight. For the first time all day, Nathan felt hope. Daniel continued. If this signature is fake, whoever filed these documents committed a major crime. Nathan nodded. Can we prove it? We'll find out. Outside the office, thunder echoed across the valley. A storm was approaching. Neither man realized how dangerous things were about to become. Meanwhile, inside HOA headquarters, Vanessa Whitmore sat alone in her office overlooking the city skyline. A board member entered nervously. Mr. Carter refused. Vanessa wasn't surprised. He was always going to refuse. What now? Vanessa slowly looked out the window. The setting sun cast long shadows across the city. Then she spoke. Increase the pressure. The board member hesitated. How much pressure? Vanessa smiled. The same dangerous smile. Whatever it takes. Far away at Blackstone Farm, Nathan stood on his porch watching dark storm clouds gather over the horizon. He didn't know it yet, but the battle for his family's land had officially begun. And before it ended, corruption would be exposed, secrets would be revealed, police would become involved, and powerful people would fall. The war between Nathan Carter and the HOA had started. Neither side intended to surrender. The storm that had rolled over Raven Creek the night before seemed to leave more than rain behind. It left tension, a feeling that something dangerous was moving beneath the surface. Nathan Carter woke before sunrise and stepped onto the porch of Blackstone Farm. The air was cool, and a thin layer of fog covered the fields. Normally, the sight would calm him. Not today. His mind remained fixed on the forged documents he had discovered at the county records office. Someone had illegally signed his name. Someone powerful. And every instinct told him that Vanessa Whitmore was connected to it. The question was simple. Could he prove it? For the next several days, Nathan and attorney Daniel Brooks began gathering information. At first, The investigation moved slowly. Too slowly. The county offices refused to provide additional records. Several officials suddenly became difficult to contact. Phone calls were ignored. Emails went unanswered. Meetings were canceled. It felt as if invisible hands were quietly closing doors around them. Then things became worse. One morning, Nathan spotted 3 black SUVs parked beside his southern property line. Private security guards stood near the fence taking photographs. Nathan immediately drove toward them. The guards remained calm as his truck approached. Nathan stepped out. "This is private property." One guard smirked. "We're conducting a survey. Without permission, we have authorization." "From who?" The guard refused to answer. Nathan demanded they leave. Instead, they continued taking photographs. The encounter lasted nearly 20 minutes before they finally departed. The message was clear. The HOA wasn't backing down. They were escalating. That evening, Nathan found another surprise. A certified letter waited in his mailbox. Inside was an official-looking notice from the HOA. The document claimed that portions of Blackstone Farm were obstructing a future transportation corridor and warned of possible legal action if Nathan interfered with development activities. Nathan crushed the paper in his hand. The intimidation campaign had officially begun. Across town, Vanessa Whitmore sat inside a private conference room with several board members. A giant development map covered one wall. The red roadway line still cut directly through Blackstone Farm. A nervous board member adjusted his tie. "Are we pushing too hard?" Vanessa looked annoyed. "Excuse me. If Carter goes public, people might start asking questions." Vanessa leaned back at her chair. "Let them ask." The board member hesitated. "The forged documents." Vanessa's eyes instantly narrowed. The room became silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Finally, Vanessa broke the silence. "Never mention that again." The warning was unmistakable. Fear spread across the room. Everyone understood exactly what she meant. The meeting quickly moved on. But one person remained troubled. A junior administrative employee named Rachel Foster. Rachel had worked for the HOA for nearly 3 years. Unlike most executives, she wasn't interested in politics or money. She simply needed a job. Unfortunately, during the past month, she had witnessed things that deeply concerned her. Documents altered, meetings held in secret, records hidden from public view. And now a farmer was being pressured to surrender land he clearly didn't want to sell. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. That evening, Rachel made a decision. A dangerous decision. She began secretly copying files. Back at Blackstone Farm, Nathan's situation continued to deteriorate. The next morning, he discovered fresh survey markers throughout his fields. Someone had entered the property during the night. Again, this time Nathan installed additional security cameras. If people wanted to trespass, he intended to record every second. The cameras captured something unexpected. At 2:17 a.m., a black SUV entered the property. 2 men exited. They placed survey markers and photographed specific locations. Then they left. The footage provided proof of trespassing. But Nathan needed more than proof. He needed evidence connecting the operation directly to the HOA. A few days later, an opportunity arrived. Investigative journalist Sophia Bennett contacted him. Sophia worked for the Raven Creek Chronicle and had built a reputation for exposing corruption. She requested a meeting. Nathan agreed. The two met at a small diner outside town. Sophia listened carefully as Nathan explained everything. The forged signature, the survey teams, the private guards, the threats. When he finished, she remained silent for several moments. Finally, she spoke. "This isn't about a road." Nathan frowned. "What do you mean?" Sophia opened a folder. Inside were property records, development proposals, investment reports, financial documents. Nathan stared at the pages. "What is all this?" Sophia pointed to several names. "Investors." Then she pointed to another list. "Developers." Finally, she pointed directly at Vanessa Whitmore's name. Nathan felt his pulse quicken. Sophia leaned forward. Several people connected to the HOA purchased land near the proposed roadway months before the project became public. Nathan immediately understood. If the road was built, nearby property values would explode. Millions of dollars were at stake, maybe tens of millions. The road wasn't for the community. It was for profit, pure profit. For the first time, Nathan saw the real picture. This wasn't a zoning dispute. It was a land grab, and Blackstone Farm stood directly in the way. Meanwhile, inside HOA headquarters, Vanessa received troubling news. A security consultant entered her office. Carter installed cameras. Vanessa looked irritated. So, they recorded our people entering the property. Silence. The consultant shifted nervously. Vanessa slowly stood. The city skyline reflected behind her office windows. What else? He's speaking with journalists. That answer clearly bothered her. Journalists created attention. Attention created scrutiny. And scrutiny was dangerous. Very dangerous. Vanessa walked toward the window. For several moments, she said nothing. Then she delivered another order. Increase pressure. The consultant nodded. What kind? Vanessa turned around. Every kind. Back at Blackstone Farm, strange incidents soon began occurring. Anonymous complaints were filed against Nathan. County inspectors appeared repeatedly. Noise violations, environmental concerns, fence inspections, livestock reviews. Every few days, a new complaint surfaced. Most were ridiculous. None had merit, but they consumed time and money. Exactly as intended. The pressure mounted. Even Emily noticed the strain. One evening, she found Nathan sitting alone on the porch. You can't carry this by yourself. Nate's in sight. I'm trying. We'll get through it. Nathan looked across the dark fields. I just don't understand how people can do this. Emily sat beside him. They think money makes them untouchable. Nathan nodded slowly. Maybe she was right. Maybe powerful people simply stopped believing rules applied to them. The next breakthrough arrived unexpectedly. Late one night, Daniel Brooks received an anonymous email. No name, no explanation, just several attached files. Daniel immediately called Nathan. Within an hour, they were reviewing the documents together. Both men were stunned. The files contained internal HOA communications, private meeting notes, financial projections, development agreements, and one particularly explosive memo. The memo described strategies for acquiring resistant properties. Nathan read the sentence twice, then 3 times. His anger grew. The document discussed landowners as obstacles, not people, obstacles. Even worse, several pages referenced Blackstone Farm directly. Daniel looked up. This is huge. Nathan nodded. Can we use it? Absolutely. But neither man knew the source. Miles away, sitting alone in her apartment, Rachel Foster nervously stared at her computer screen. She had sent the files. Her hands still trembled. If Vanessa discovered what she'd done, her career would be over. Maybe worse. But Rachel could no longer stay silent. Someone needed to know the truth. And now the truth was finally beginning to emerge. As midnight approached, Nathan stepped outside and looked across the moonlit fields. For the first time in weeks, he felt hope. Real hope. The HOA was hiding something. Something big. And piece by piece, the evidence was coming together. The battle was far from over. In fact, it was becoming more dangerous than ever. But one thing had changed. Nathan Carter was no longer fighting in the dark. Now he was starting to see the enemy's secrets. And those secrets had the power to destroy everything Vanessa Whitmore had built. Within weeks, the evidence collected by Nathan Carter, Daniel Brooks, Sophia Bennett, and the anonymous whistleblower became impossible to ignore. Public pressure forced county officials to halt construction plans temporarily, and the dispute finally entered the courtroom. The case quickly became the most talked-about story in Raven Creek County. Every hearing attracted reporters, residents, and curious observers. Many homeowners who had once supported the HOA were now questioning everything they had been told. On the first day of trial, Vanessa Whitmore arrived with a team of expensive attorneys. She appeared confident as always, but behind her calm expression was growing concern. Nathan sat beside Daniel Brooks. He wasn't there for money. He wasn't there for revenge. He was there to protect his family's land. The proceedings began with opening statements. The HOA lawyers argued that the roadway project would benefit the community and claimed that Nathan was obstructing progress. Then Daniel stood. The courtroom became silent. Daniel carefully explained how forged documents had been used, how private security guards had trespassed on private property, and how HOA officials had secretly coordinated efforts to pressure Nathan into surrendering his land. Then came the evidence. Security footage showed guards entering Blackstone Farm without permission. Emails revealed secret discussions regarding resistant landowners. Financial records demonstrated that HOA-connected investors would profit enormously if the road was built. The atmosphere inside the courtroom changed immediately. Jurors listened carefully. Reporters filled pages with notes. Vanessa's confidence began to fade. The biggest moment arrived when Rachel Foster was called to testify. The courtroom doors opened. Rachel walked toward the witness stand. Many HOA officials looked shocked. Nobody expected an insider to appear. Under oath, Rachel described secret meetings, altered records, hidden documents, and conversations she had personally witnessed. Then she revealed the most damaging information of all. Several HOA executives had discussed Nathan's property months before obtaining any official approval. In other words, the plan existed long before the public knew about it. The courtroom erupted with whispers. Vanessa's attorneys objected repeatedly, but the testimony continued. Next came a handwriting expert. After examining the disputed documents, the expert delivered a devastating conclusion. The signature approving the roadway project was fraudulent. It had not been written by Nathan Carter. The forgery was officially confirmed. For the first time, Vanessa appeared genuinely worried. Days later, Sophia Bennett presented records showing that investors connected to the HOA had quietly purchased nearby properties before the project became public. The evidence suggested a coordinated effort to increase land values for personal gain. The scandal exploded across local news outlets. By the final week of trial, public opinion had completely shifted. When closing arguments arrived, Daniel delivered a powerful statement. "This case is not about a road," he told the court. "It is about power. It is about corruption. It is about people who believed they could take what did not belong to them." The courtroom remained silent. Hours later, the judge delivered the ruling. The forged documents were declared invalid. The proposed roadway through Blackstone Farm was permanently blocked. The HOA's actions were condemned as unlawful. Nathan had won, but the story was not over. The evidence presented during the trial had attracted the attention of law enforcement, and now a criminal investigation was beginning. Following the court ruling, state investigators launched a full inquiry into the HOA's activities. What they discovered was worse than anyone expected: financial fraud, document tampering, illegal agreements, abuse of authority. Investigators spent weeks reviewing records and interviewing witnesses. The evidence continued to grow. Then came the day that changed Raven Creek forever. Early one morning, police vehicles and investigators arrived at HOA headquarters. Employees watched nervously as officers entered the building carrying warrants. News crews quickly gathered outside. Within hours, the story spread across the county. Vanessa Whitmore remained inside her office as investigators reviewed documents and seized computers. For the first time in years, she could not control the situation. The evidence against her was overwhelming. When officers finally entered her office, the building fell silent. The lead investigator presented the warrant. Vanessa attempted to argue. Nobody listened. Moments later, she was placed under arrest on multiple charges related to fraud, conspiracy, and document forgery. Several board members were arrested as well. As police escorted them from the building, reporters captured every moment. The same people who once controlled Raven Creek now faced criminal prosecution. Meanwhile, Nathan stood on Blackstone Farm watching the evening sun settle across the fields. The long battle was finally over. His land was safe. His family's legacy remained intact. Emily and Liam joined him near the old oak tree that stood at the center of the property. For a moment, nobody spoke. There was no need. The silence itself felt like victory. Nathan looked across the land his grandfather had protected and his father had loved. After months of threats, intimidation, corruption, and legal battles, Blackstone Farm still belonged to the Carter family. Exactly where it belonged. As darkness settled over the valley, Nathan smiled for the first time in many months. The powerful had fallen, the truth had prevailed, and justice had finally come to Raven Creek.
Subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for new updates.